Hey guys, my name is Haley, and today we're just going to be running through some of the nonfiction that I would like to read in 2026. Nonfiction isn't your deal. I highly recommend that you try to at least find one that you already enjoy, like a subject you already like, even if it's like something about your favorite show. If there's like a book that has to do with like the behind the scenes of your favorite show, whatever that is, I encourage that you check it out. Please read something this year. You are on a Booktube channel right now, so I assume that you read fiction already, but I highly recommend to everybody in the current state of the world try to get into nonfiction in some way, shape, or form. That's my disclaimer. Let's jump right into the video and the stacks of books I have around me. So I have the stacks that I have with me of books that I have with me physically. The vast majority of the books that I have with me physically, since most of my books are packed away in a storage unit due to all of the moving and unknown where we are living, I have mostly nonfiction with me because that is what I've been the most interested in and are usually less likely to be at my library depending on the subject. So I'm going to show you all the physical books, and then I have a few like books I know that Libby has from my library that I will also be sharing that I would like to get to this year. These are in no particular order or genre grouping or anything. They're just in piles around me. So the first I have is Young China: How the Restless Generation Will Change Their Country and the World by Zach Ditchwald. I've been wanting to learn more about China. I'm somebody who, because of my obsession with K-pop a few years ago, which I've sort of fallen out of, which is a whole another story in and of itself, I've been very interested in China. I know some of their history with Korea, but not as a country themselves. So I've been wanting to find more nonfiction about the country. I also, like everybody else, ended up on Rednote. Not everything on Rednote was a surprise to me, again, as somebody who knew a little bit about Asian culture beforehand, but I realized I don't know enough about China. Speaking of Asian countries, I have North Korea: Beyond Charismatic Politics. I am careful about North Korean nonfiction because I know a lot of it is state propaganda from our own country. And if you don't believe that, I can't help you, or at least not at this time. There are other people that are more knowledgeable about that than me, but I've been trying to learn more. So when I saw these at a library book sale at the end of last year, I had to pick them up. Then I have Vanguard, which is How Black Women Broke Barriers, Won the Vote, and Insisted on Equality for All by Martha S. Jones. I've been reading a lot more nonfiction about the Black experiences in the United States to educate myself, since every single issue in this country tends to go back to racism. So anytime I see a book on that subject, I pick it up. Then we have a book that I started last year while we were unhoused, and that is Cooking Up a Revolution: Food Not Bombs, Homes Not Jails, and Resistance to Gentrification. This is a short little book I picked up at, I want to say I picked this up at Pride. It was some sort of event, and I've already annotated a lot, and I did not end up finishing it last year because I was very stressed at the end of 2025 due to the state of the world and the state of my own personal life. So I would like to finish this one this year, but highly recommend it. It is a very good read, and I would like to actually finish it. Then we have The Bully of Bentonville: How the High Cost of Walmart's Everyday Low Prices is Hurting America by Anthony Bianco. I have been boycotting Walmart for a few months. Full disclaimer, there have been a handful of times right before we were homeless that the only option to go get certain things in our area was Walmart. So not every boycott is perfect, but I know that they have a lot of really shady business practices, and I try to boycott where I can of things that do not align with my morals. So I'm excited to read this one. And then we have The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, revised and abridged by Charlotte Thompson Iserbite. I actually don't know when this came out. This book feels older. It also feels self-published. Copyright 1999 and 2011. Oh, this is the revised one from 2011, which is the year that I graduated. But this, I imagine, is about schooling, possibly public school. I am unsure if this is on the side of the aisle that I tend to agree with, and that public schools are not perfect, but they are better than sending it back to the states or whatever it is they're calling it in the current regime, because homeschooling, especially for religious reasons, really freaks me out as somebody who knows a lot of people who are in those circles since I left a Christian cult years ago. So I'm hoping this will be a good read. If not, I will just pass it along to a little free library, as I do with a lot of books. Then we have Raven, the Untold Story of the Reverend Jim Jones and His People. This is about the Jim Jones cult. And it's huge, and it is something I've always been interested in and have never had a deep dive on. So I feel like this should give me all of the information I would possibly ever want to know about Jim Jones and the cults that he formed about Jonestown. Then we have the January 6th report. Findings from the Select Committee to investigate the attack on the U.S. Capitol with reporting, analysis, and visuals by the New York Times. Literally by the New York Times. This is like a minute-by-minute breakdown of what happened on January 6th by the New York Times. And since we just had the anniversary of the, 5th anniversary? I remember where I was when this happened. Very similar to how a lot of us remember September 11th. And now knowing a lot more about how it came to be, having been updated on Christian nationalism, because I was in the Christian Nationalist Club, but literally about to leave when this happened, knowing all of the evangelicals that were involved in January 6th really freaks me the fuck out now. So, thought a deep dive would not help, but at least inform me. Then I have COVID-19 and the Global Predators. We Are the Prey, with introductions by leading COVID-19 physicians. And this seems to be a deep dive on not only COVID, but how it came to be and what happened, and a lot of things that our country did not share with us. This came out in 2021, so obviously we have known and learned more since then. But as somebody who was aware of COVID a little bit before a lot of America was, because I followed a lot of K-pop people who were in both China and Korea at the time, and obviously China was the epicenter of the pandemic, so I feel like this would be an interesting read to get some sort of a glimpse into what was going on over there. And the frustration of a lot of scientists, I'm sure, here when America just pretended like it wasn't a big deal. Or at least we pretended that it was for a little bit, but not nearly as long as the rest of the world did. And that's why we are still in what is essentially an endemic issue today here in America, because we spent a whole year, 2 or 3 of people going, I will not wear a mask, and now we have ICE officers on the streets wearing masks like they didn't just complain about them 3 or 4 years ago. But I digress. Then I have Under the Banner of Heaven, A Story of Violent Faith. I believe this is a Mormon. Was this Mormons? Yes, 40,000 Mormon fundamentalists. This is also a cult book. I've been very into the cult books as of late. If you've been around here for a while, if not, hi. I came from a cult. I'm very interested in cults. I will be sharing my own cult story soon, so please like and subscribe if you would like to hear that. But next up, we have Crisis and Care, Queer Activist Responses to a Global Pandemic. I know this was specifically about the pandemic and is very short, but I also feel like it would be very helpful with everything that is going on in the United States in the early 2026, especially in Minnesota, of the horrors that we are all being privy to. So this is an important read that I plan to get to. Then I have Notes on Queer Joy, I Feel Love. This is a book I picked up in a little queer bookstore in Denver, I want to say a couple years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago. I've never gotten around to it, and I feel like we need some little queer joy in the very stressful rest of the pile that I've already mentioned. Then I have Madeline's book, which is I Survived Capitalism and All I Got Was This Lousy T-Shirt. Everything I wish I never had to learn about money. I have been following Madeline for, I want to say 4 or 5 years, like very early on, long before I used TikTok the way I do now, when she started to blow up on TikTok. And she was the only creator on there that I watched for quite a while, actually, and I've been wanting to read her book. I know there's controversy about her. I've been around her channel enough to know that a lot of the controversy is bullshit, and that's all I'm going to say on that. But I've always wanted to read her book, and the only reason I haven't is because I can't decide if I want to listen to her read the audiobook, because I'm so used to her voice. I also follow her podcasts and everything, so when I decide what format I want to read this in, I will read it. Then I have Rural Poverty in the United States, and this is quite literally very similar, it sounds like, to a book that I just read, which was called Dying of Whiteness. And this is about Trump country, essentially. of, I think this is actually before, of what, a lot of, yeah, 2017, so in there, of his influence in more rural areas of the country and the way of life that they have there. And the really strange, I'm hoping it talks about the really strange, like, adoration they have for Trump, because I don't understand it. And I wish that I did. Actually, I don't wish that I did. I wish there was, like, a logic or a reasoning to it, but I know that there's not. And I keep trying to learn more about it in the hopes that it will make sense, and it never does. So I don't know what states this covers specifically, but I also do hope it talks about the Civil War and issues they had with the Confederacy down there, because that's an important reason why that area is the way that it is. Then I have A Queer History of the United States by Michael Bronsky. As a queer woman myself, I am always reading more about queer history because I feel like we never learned enough of it, and the only way we figure it out is if we look for the information ourselves while it still exists, because God knows what's going to happen under the current regime as they delete books and websites and links left and right. And then the last physical book I got for Christmas, and that is Hellbent: How the Fear of Hell Holds Christians Back from a Spirituality of Love by Brian Recker. I've been watching him go on all of the deconstruction podcasts. I've followed him for a while. I really enjoy his stuff, and I'm very much looking forward to reading his book. And then I have a handful of nonfiction that I have either on hold from the library or plan to get out from the library very soon. One is Holy Disruptor by Amy Duggar King. I just watched season 1 of Shiny Happy People, and that is about the Duggars, and I didn't know that one of them had written a book. I think one of the other girls, because Amy is a cousin of the Duggars from the 19 Kids and Counting TV show, I think one of the other girls also wrote a book, so when I figure out what hers is, I will probably also read it, but I feel like this is going to be an interesting read. I'm probably going to listen to an audiobook. Another one I want to get to is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. And this is specifically about Palestine, but I've been told that it, like, also is very helpful in a lot of what's going on in the United States right now under an authoritarian regime. So I plan to get to that. I've been talking too much. So I plan to get to that one soon. Then I want to read There's No Place for Us: Working and Homeless in America by Brian Goldstone. As somebody who experienced an unhoused portion of last year and has been moving around a lot, and also had to quit their job because of all of it and is having issues finding another job, I feel like this is an important read. And somewhat on that same subject, I have Empire of AI by Karen Howe. This, I hope, talks about how freaking scary AI is, and the fact that the United States refuses to put any sort of guardrails on it here in America is going to destroy the world. As a certified hater of AI, this is probably for me. And I want to get to One Nation Under God: How Corporate America Invented Christian America by Kevin M. Cruz. I imagine this is a book about Christian nationalism. Everything I've read about it seems to be that it probably is. And this is an important book in that space that I have not gotten to yet. I also plan to make a video about books on Christian nationalism. That is in the works. So please like and subscribe if you would like to be privy to that, because that will probably be up in the next few weeks, hopefully, if I can get all of the filming done. And I have The Myth of Good Christian Parenting by Marissa Franks Burt. This is a book I want to read, not because I am a parent, but because I was a teacher, and I'm very curious to hear the Christian take on a lot of parenting issues, because so many people come out of Christian spaces, Christian cults, very traumatized because of how they were raised and how the culture in those circles is very abusive. So I feel like this is going to be a hard read, especially from a teacher's perspective. And I have The Bible Told Them So: How Southern Evangelicals Fought to Preserve White Supremacy by J. Russell Hawkins. I've been reading a lot of books on this subject when it comes to Christian nationalism. I would like to add this one to my list. And then last, I have Jesus and John Wayne by Kristen Kobes Dumez. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. But this is like the #1 deconstruction book that everyone always recommends, and I haven't read it yet, so I plan to get to this one soon. But yeah, those are all of the nonfiction books I currently have in my sights. I'm sure there are plenty more that I will get to as I hear about them. I tend to listen to a lot of them on nonfiction, but I've been really into reading it physically recently, so we'll see. But let me know what a nonfiction subject you would like to look into could be in the comments down below. If I have any recommendations, I will also give them to you. So if you give me a subject, I've read quite a bit of things, so I can give you some recommendations if you're interested. Otherwise, stick around for a lot of my recommendation videos that I plan to make in the very near future here on this channel. But thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.